Swift, top to it. Yeah. I mean, you can do that with like. Actually, no, don't do that with quick. It starts off really slow. They're like, this is a very. Here's how you make a comment, and it's like.
Back to the basics, baby. Oh, that might be good, but
No, yeah, no.
like first. Even if it doesn't work, that's because you don't know it. That's a new feeling. Because you know it.
Yes.
So yesterday, one of my friends who was Force USA in IT, he asked me to join his hackathon team. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I looked up online, got a little bit of information about it. You might go in a little more in detail, like that consists of. I know you work as a team to like solve an issue, and then you have to use USA coding standards as well, correct? Which is kind of close to like JavaScript, because that's what he was saying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he says, have you done a USA hackathon? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's all open. I mean, you can pick any language and do it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because he says it was specific to USA coding language. And I was like, cool, what is it?
What language? It should be like JavaScript or Java. There's no USA language. I don't think so. I'm not
Well, it has
sure.
to be up to USA like coding standards.
Yeah, okay. But the language is still the same. Java, JavaScript. You can pick anyone.
Okay, it could be like any language. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Is it like a giant event? Like, how does it usually like work?
It's like usually like 3 days, and then you sit from 8 to 5 or whatever. You kind of come up with a solution. The third day you have to go and present it, and then you get judged and see if you win or not.
Yeah, because he says it's coming up soon. So.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, he says right now he's been like thinking about it, working on a team, and he asked me because he wants to grab someone who's not an IT yet. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And he says it's open to all USA employees.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some, but it's more like a domain related, and it's not like a company wide thing. But seems like interesting. Yeah, you should give it a try.
I already did that and I already submitted an ICE idea as well.
Okay.
I already sent it to the IT directors as well. 'Cause one of the biggest issues is when people call in, they're not able to see their documents when they submit. So people call in and complain, they're like, what happened to the documents? Why is it rejected? If they're able to see what they submitted and get instant feedback online.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm totally confused. I totally forgot they moved. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
walked over to the classroom. I'm like, wow, it's kind of dark. Oh yeah, we moved to the third floor.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. Let me outline this week. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully it's a relatively quick stream, but we'll see. There was some interest in some of the areas, so we'll cover. All right, so this week is mostly dedicated to any revision you guys want. I floated the idea around, and I got some interest in a couple of topics. I posted what we are going to cover today. There was some interest in Redux also. Just the basic Redux, right? That was a comment. They were like, don't not too much, just like an idea. So I might go over that on Saturday. Today, I think there was some interest in some of the activities that we did previous week. The 3 Ajax and the React router activities Jeff pointed out, and there were some more thumbs up and likes about that. So I'm going to go over it again today. We'll go the same way. I'll live code it. You guys can see it. Make sure you understand everything. Okay. Before that, you guys, first of all, thank you very much for arranging yourselves in groups. I didn't get a message. Anybody got left behind, so that's good. Thank you very much. Again, as I said, my record is still clean. I didn't have to jump in and assign some teams, so thank you for that. All right, so it looks like you guys have your dream teams. There were some really good ideas. Looking forward to that. As I said, I posted my GitHub repo also so that you guys can see the progression. If you haven't, take a look at it if you want. I posted my idea, how it has been done, and some of the technologies that I'm going to use, so you guys can kind of follow it. For now, I've been doing good. I've been able to deploy it on Heroku. I added my Travis CI that's working last night. Then I added some unit tests for both front end and back end. I'm using Jest. It's from React for the front end, and then I have Mocha and Chai for the back end. So I wrote some tests that's also there that's working, and in my pipeline it shows me the tests are running. Okay, I added the linter part also, so my linter is also working. I'm using the Airbnb linter for React. I did some research and they were saying Airbnb is like the gold standard for linter when it comes to React apps. So that's what I'm using. If you guys are interested, let me know. If you have any difficulty in setting up, but it's pretty straightforward how to set it up. Once you set it up, you will see some interesting comments from Airbnb, from their standards. Some of them were confusing, but I looked it up. Looks like that's how you do it. There was one interesting. It's called comma dangling one. Have you guys heard about that? So they were suggesting that if there's an array and you put it in a different line, you need to put a comma at the end. For example, if I have this is my array of letters. So this is okay. All right, this is how you do an array, right? Separated by commas, right? This is what they were suggesting. If there's something on a different line, then the linter says add an extra comma at the end. It's called dangling comma. That's apparently the standard. I didn't know that, and I was like, that doesn't even make sense. So they call it comma dangling comma. So they were of the opinion that if you have to add something to this array at the end, people won't forget to add a comma. People usually forget, so there's any error. So this is easy that you can just put your cursor here, press enter, and then just add one more. But that's I don't know. That's what the Airbnb standard said. So it's an interesting concept. It's called comma dangling issue. And then they were using single quotes in their code. So I didn't want to change it, but I went ahead and moved into single quotes also. So there are some good things to learn if you're using a linter. Okay. All right. Let's. All right. Let's going back to projects. I want to clarify a few things. This project is divided into four sections. So the first delivery of this phase would be next Tuesday. Okay, I want you guys to present on 9. Okay, that's the first phase, next Tuesday. And then every following Tuesday. So the second would be the following Tuesday, which is 16. What is it? 27?
Was it adding 7 get you to 16?
Yeah. 16. And then the third is the next two. I don't think there's any holidays in between. This would be 23rd. And then after that is
The last day of class.
last day of class.
Oh, wow. That's it. No question.
Okay, 31st. One more day to comment and proceed. All right, so these are the phases. Now, in the first phase, what I'm looking next week is you come up with your project board, you present your project board, you present your mock-ups, and let me slag the points out so that you guys see what are the deliverables for next week. What is it? Week 1. Okay. Look at Slack. I've slacked. So a detailed plan of action. overview of the application and why you feel it's valuable. It's kind of repetition. You already guys have presented it, but add that to your next week also. I want to hear what the app is. Why do you think it's valuable? Breakdown of roles by member. You guys did this on Saturday. Just use the same format. The third one is important. Screenshot of your project management board. Again, if you have not started using one, please start using it. Again, look at my GitHub repo. It's already there. I'm using a project management board. You can see how I'm arranging stuff, what kind of standard I'm following. If you look at my repo, you will see like a template. And GitHub kind of lets you save those templates so that you don't have to keep going back and creating new issues, and you have to remember what's the pattern. Once you save it, and once you're creating that issue, it kind of puts it over there for you automatically. Okay, so let me, for example, this is my board, right? These are the tasks that I'm done. Now if I want to create a new one, these ones are being created from a template. So if I go back to my code and you see, where's my issues? So I say new issue. So this is a template that I have already saved, right? I've saved a template so that I don't have to keep remembering what template I'm following. So all I have to do is just click get started, and it shows me the basic criteria, what I have to do, and then I just fill in the blanks over here, copy this and put a new number to it. Okay, so you can create these templates for issues. Take a look at it. This is available in GitHub. So that kind of keeps you in the same format. All right. I'm super OCD, so I want everything to be exactly, looking familiar. So that's why it's kind of nice tool. So that's why your program board then kind of looks following the same patterns with some numbers, what you're doing, how many tasks you have, and all that stuff. Okay. These tasks were all created in almost like half a day. So I would suggest that before you are starting new task, sit for a few hours and make sure you put everything over here, and then go ahead and begin your task. Right? Don't dedicate your stuff like, oh, I'm coding also, let me go and put a task. Oh, let me code, let me go and put a task. I would say dedicate like half a day, sit together with your team, come up with all possible tasks that you think, and put it in your backlog or to-do list. It's called to-do over here. Okay, and then start your sprint, and then begin. Okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to do. This is what I have to do. Once this is down to 1 or 2 tasks, again, dedicate half day again, and then make sure that you have more tasks. For example, your first phase is coming up, so my next task would be to create the mockups, because that's due next week, and that's what I'm going to be working on. What else is there? And I don't have to worry about a project management board because I'm already using this. So if you guys already started it, so that's already one task done. You see, if you are already doing this, this is already done. The only thing is now creating mocks. That's what you have to work on. Okay, that's what I'm going to work on as soon as I complete my MongoDB setup. These are all completed last night, so I'm going to work on this one. Probably not today. I don't know. We'll see, man. Okay. For mocks, I'm going to give it a try for Balsamiq. I haven't used it. I just downloaded the trial version. I'm gonna take a look at it, and if it looks good, might use it for my next projects also. Okay? Has anybody started using Balsamiq? Used it before? Yeah. Okay. Initially, it kind of gave me a different feeling because it was like so like childish. I was like, is this how you do it? But apparently, that's how it is.
Yeah, it's
okay.
very easy to use. I guess that's why.
Okay. So basically, it's like a cartoonish, shows your browser, and is that how it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's.
Right. So I've heard those are called, I think, wireframes, and that's how a lot of UI UX designers start off with, and then they put in the colorings and all this stuff. So definitely give it a try, look into it. So you also used it? Okay. Yeah, they're paid. That's what I was thinking. I'm going to use the trial one, and then if it works out, I might just go ahead and buy them.
I mean, it is helpful.
It is good.
Especially if you just have to put things together really quick. Just like
Right.
structure of it.
Right. And it helps. I know that once I have something visual, I don't have to go back and rethink. Right now, I might have thoughts, oh, this is how my website should be looking at. But after like a week, I'll be like, oh, I don't know what I was thinking. So, but still, it's good to have those mock-ups in front of you, especially when you're working like 3 or 4 people. You can distribute them. Hey, you need to work on this screen, and this is what I want. Okay. So something to look into that. It's free for 30 days, so you don't have to pay for it, at least for this project. So that should be good. All right. Any general questions about the project, about the tools, or anything about the deliverable? Everybody understand what needs to be done this time? Okay. The second one, once on next Tuesday, I'll go in more detail about the second one, but it's more like an MVP. You guys need to work on it. Show me something before the presentation over here, like a mini presentation, but that's what the second will be. Okay. Any questions on dates? Everybody clear? Okay. All right. So what was so difficult on Saturday? I don't know why you guys were giving him a hard time.
Because he told us first deliverables due Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, due today? No.
He said we couldn't leave until it was done.
Yeah, he said we couldn't leave until that first one was done.
Really?
Until the whole thing was done.
Okay, so remember on Thursday I said, going to Saturday class, make your group, come up with your idea, and then don't worry about it. Next Tuesday, today I'm going to talk about it. So everybody has their own dates, and I schedule mine like this because that's how I like it. But
So I went into Saturday class thinking all those things, and then Matt,
I said, just listen,
the
man.
paramount instructor of the day was like, "No, we have to be done." I'm like,
You know what I kept doing? I kept checking that you actually sent a message. I understood, but you will later on Saturday. You will tell us on Tuesday class.
Oh yeah, no, I
So I
wanted to
kept
go over
checking, and
this
there's nothing.
today because you guys still have 1 week.
Until later.
I
So,
already had my
we were
MVP.
good.
Are you already?
Yeah, we're ready. Let's present
Yeah,
today.
like,
Let's
we're
get going.
done. Yeah, we're in production.
All right.
Like we're meeting with venture capitalists. We're getting funding. Like this is a thing. Yeah, we met with a couple VCs. Like yeah.
Tim Apple. All right. So for this week, I floated the idea. I got some response for at least today's class. For Saturday, I'm planning to go over Redux. Initially, give an idea. All right. If there's anything else, please do let me know. Post it on Slack. I haven't had many comments. I haven't seen anybody saying anything extra. I know Kyle mentioned the screens. Did you sort that out? I never got the.
I have one.
Okay.
We're interested in TypeScript though.
Okay. So he has the idea for TypeScript. We might go over that on Tuesday next week on the last day. Again, I haven't personally used TypeScript. I've seen it. I've taken a course like a year ago when it kind of became very popular and Microsoft was like pushing it on everybody and they were like, hey, use TypeScript, forget about JavaScript. I was like, okay. I mean, that's the next new thing, but so I'll go over it again and give you a basic idea what TypeScript is. That we can. It'll be easier for us also. You guys should be able to understand because now we have this knowledge and we should be able to pick up any new language. Okay. People were asking about Java. That shows up on your course. I can upload the activities, but we won't be going over it. It didn't work out so well. And a lot of people were even more confused because there's JavaScript and there's Java, and they're like, what is going on? So it's kind of changing, and they have dedicated this week also for React mostly, like a soft introduction to Redux at most, but that's about it. Okay. But again, there's any concept, and Jeff kind of pointed out, so we'll go over some of the React concepts today again, or the activities. Those are really good activities. And I think it's fair enough to give it a second try also for these ones. Okay? Any questions? And then after this week, next Thursday, we'll begin our last week of lecture, which is scheduled. We'll talk about those. Okay, any questions? So I'll be going over these 3 activities today. All right? Same format. If you guys want to go work on your project, leave the class, I'm totally fine with it. But as soon as these are complete, the rest is project time. Okay, so it's up to you guys. You guys not interested in these revision activities, you can leave. I don't want to force anybody kind of sitting through it. All right, but if you are here, please don't have any discussions so that people who are interested may can still hear and learn it. All right, everybody good? Questions? All right. Let's start this one. So what was the um um so I would recommend if you guys can follow the activity, kind of type it out also with me, so that it kind of gives you an idea what's going on. These are the three activities. The first one is the Ajax one, so I'll start with this one first. It is number 9, and the solution is also there. But don't worry, but the solution will solve through each one of these. Okay. So the first thing is open it, run npm install. I've already done this because I saw what happened last time, how much time this takes. So I already done the npm install part. I haven't done anything else after that. All right. So this is use MongoDB. So start Mongo. All right, and then npm run seed. Now the question before you run npm run seed, what is going on? Is there a command like what is this npm run seed? What should it be running? If I'm looking at my, it should be running a database, right? That's kind of name tells you. Where can I find this? If I was like, hey, what's how does npm know what to do? npm run seed. What is npm run seed? And Blair answered that it is running your database queries, which is correct. Okay, and if I want to look at my database queries, which folder might those be?
Well, the scripts themselves are in the scripts.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at this. So my CDB has some of the Mongoose code that I can see, and then have some data in it, right? Okay. What else? Let's look at our package JSON. Anything stands out over here? Line number 11. You see this seed command over here? There's no npm run seed. There's nothing npm run seed. It actually comes over here and looks at this scripts. npm start. npm start is here. All right. npm seed. This is what npm install. There's no built-in command for npm. These are all that you are defining. Right? You understand the power behind it. You can put any script over there and then say npm run this. All right. So the seed is actually coming over here, and npm, when you say npm run seed, it goes into your packages and looks for the script, and then looks for the seed part, and then it just runs node script seed.js. It's just running a node file. That's all it is doing. Okay. This is no mystery, nothing. There's nothing npm run seed that oh, maybe it's part of npm. It's actually not part of anything. It's part of your thing that you guys are writing. And I'm saying that we are writing this because this is our code basically, right? So we are actually saying, hey, if you see npm run seed, do this. And what is it going on? We are just doing node and seed.js. You're just running a JavaScript file or a Node.js file. If you look up seeddb.js, what is it? It's a node file which runs your Mongoose and does all this stuff. Oops. Okay, so that's the power of npm scripts. I know we looked at in our project one and we kind of skipped over it, but this is how these work. Oops. Oh, it started going down already.
Oh, wait, it's back.
Oh, it's back. Maybe I shouldn't walk.
Yeah, I was gonna say you stepped right there.
Yeah. So that's what those npm run commands are. Okay. There's one more that you will see. You can look at my repo also. Npm run test. Right. There is a test command that you will put over here, and that will run your test. Okay. So those are different commands that you can put over here. Everybody understand where that npm run seed is coming from? Did anybody look at before I talked about it? No. Okay. Did anybody kind of take a look at this file or kind of try to figure out what's npm run seed? Okay, good. So that's what I was saying, that be curious, try to find out, hey, what is this npm run seed? Even if you Google, I don't know if something comes up, but this is technically your thing that you are putting over here. Okay, npm install, it actually goes in this folder and does a npm install. That's what it does. That's why you get everything installed when you do npm install. Okay. All right. So that's our packages. And now remember this thing, and then when you're doing your project, you will see some of the configurations that are over here. If you're using the boilerplate code or using the React code. Some of the stuff is kind of exist over here. Okay, start dev and start prod. These are all kind of kicking off when you deploy to Heroku or any server. Okay. All right. So go ahead and run npm run seed, and that should install your Mongo database. Let me go ahead and start Mongo first. Okay, so this is running. So now I can go ahead and run my file. I should have npm install already done, so let me make sure. Okay, there's my node module, so I already did that. So I'm going to do npm run seed, and this time it's going to go create a Mongo database, and it inserted 16 records. Okay, that's what you guys should be seeing. All right. Then go ahead and do a npm start, and this should kick off your unsolved file. Okay, so far so good. All right. All right, let's see. Oh, good. Kind of open up over here. Okay. All right, so this is what we've been working on. Let's see what you have to do. Open up client, source, pages, books, and add code. When the component mounts, it performs an AJAX request and retrieve. All right. Before we begin, make sure you understand my client folder has all my React code, right? And if you look at my project, I'm following the same kind of strategy, right? All my React code is in my client folder. Everything else you see over here is all backend, right? All Node.js, right? So if I want to find my pages, books.js, where would that folder be? I mean, where should I look into? Client, right? Client, and then source, and then pages. Okay. So all of these are my React ones. Pages are different pages of the same website. All right. Components are used in your pages. Excellent. All right. And then you have some util methods. We'll take a look at it. Those are calling your AJAX calls. Okay. So let's go ahead and open up books.js and then take a look at it. All right, so books.js, as I said, your pages contain your components. And you can see in the code that at the top, you're importing a bunch of stuff, right? A lot of components. Okay, so this means your page comprises of components. Okay. Looks like we have Jumbotron, delete button, some column, grid components, list items, and a form. Okay. Now, so what do we have to do? Let's go back here and see. All right, add code when the component mounts. Okay, what is component mounts? Anybody remember what component mounts is? No? Page loading. It's a, what do we call? It's a life cycle method. What do you mean by life cycle method? These are methods that come built in with React. And these are, you don't have to create those methods. They are already created for you. Life cycle method. And life cycle methods is not like a React word, right? In any other programming language, you go into iOS or Android or anything else, you will keep in the word life cycle method. This means that these are methods that your language kind of provides you, and they will call these methods automatically at some point in time. At some point in the life of your web page, of your app, these methods are going to be called. Right? So one of them in React is called component date mount. Component did mount. Okay, so component did mount is one of the life cycle methods for React. This means that during the life of your web page, of your React app, this method is going to be called automatically. Okay, you don't have to call this, you just have to put some code, but this method will be called by your React app, right, during the life cycle of its existence, right? And now we need to understand when it would be called. Blair was saying on the page load, that's the right term. When your page loads or your component basically mounts, right? In React, everything is a component, right? So basically you're saying this whole thing is a big component, right? Why? Because in the end, everything is under the app component, right? Your app is a big one and everything else is within it. So in the end, everything is a big component and then you're kind of separating this out into smaller ones. Okay, that's why they have the name component did mount. So this part, books.js, when this component loads up the first time, that method is called automatically. It doesn't matter. Okay? There are like three more. Look at the React documentation. There are a few more life cycle methods, but this is the more popular one. And any code that you want to run when your page loads, when your component loads, you put it into component did mount. Okay, everybody understand? Any questions before? Again, the coding part is again easy, but I want you guys to understand this concept. What are these called lifecycle method? What they actually mean? Okay, again, lifecycle method is not it's not a React term. You'll find this basically in any other language also, and basically it means when that thing kind of loads up. For example, in iOS programming, they have their own lifecycle methods, like your page renders, when your layout kind of comes up, so they have their own lifecycle methods. Okay, understand, Joe? Good. No, because when I said, do you guys remember component inbound? And you were like, yes. Huh? You don't remember yesterday. All right. All right. So what are we saying? If the exercise says I need to put some code in my component did mount, right? This means when my page loads, I need to do something. All right. What do I have to do? It performs an AJAX request to retrieve all of the books in the database. Okay, so my page loads, it should go to Mongo database and get all the books that are there. Okay, and once the AJAX request is complete, they should set this.state.books equal to array of books. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is write our component did mount. All right, let's go to our pages, books, and add the code. Okay, so it's already there. All right, so it's called component did mount. You see it already comes up. They have a good description at the bottom. The documentation is pretty good for React. Called immediately after a component is mounted, setting the state here will trigger re-rendering. Okay, every time we set a state variable, the page kind of re-renders. All right, so component did mount, and this is the code that we are going to put. Now, if you want to test it out, you can put a console log and then refresh your page. You will see in your console log, whatever you put it over here, it kind of shows up. Okay. All right. What do we have to do over here? We have to make the AJAX call and get all the books. Now, here's where the API method comes in. So I'm going to take a moment, look at the API.js. I'll go with assumption we looked at it. So we see that somebody has already written, or we have already, we are following good dry principles, and we have kind of isolated, kind of put all our functions in a nice way in our API.js. So I have the get books function, I have get book, I have delete book. Get books gives me all the books, right, from the API. Remember the CRUD operations. Get book gives me just one. If I have to get one book, I need to pass in some unique identifier, right? Delete, as in it will delete it, and save is going to save the book. Right, so what's the HTTP for save book? What's the HTTP method if I want to save a book? HTTP method, post. Okay, post method. So basically my save book is post, delete book is delete, HTTP delete, and these two are get. Both are get. Okay. All right. So we are using Axios over here, so that kind of makes it easy. Axios has all these functions. The return type over here. All right. This is an AJAX call. It's going to be asynchronous. Will I get? What am I going to get when I'm at this return? When I do a Axios.get, right? Will it return me a set of books or not? Somebody was hearing that. Alright, it's going to return me a promise. Okay, it's an async call. Always remember Ajax, none of them gives you data back. It's always going to be a promise. They are going to promise you that, okay, eventually, when I get something, I'm going to give you the data. Eventually, right? It's an async call. This code does not stop over here. It will go ahead and it will complete this function. Okay, so the return type over here is going to be a promise. Okay, and if promises are involved, what's the function that we use? .then, right? A then function means when the promise comes back, when the data is there, then go ahead and do something. So we are going to use our then method. Okay, this is only applicable on promises. All right, any questions? Good. Everybody understand we are never going to get any data back on this return. Okay, we are just going to get a promise. A promise that eventually I'll come to a point where I'll give you the data back, but not right now. Okay, I've seen this is the biggest confusion, and people are writing code and doing projects, kind of expecting the data to come back, and then well, it says undefined. Yes, it's going to say undefined if you just stop over here. You're never going to get the data back. Right, you will see undefined. All right, so we have to use a get books method, okay, because we are trying to get all the books. Let's see if we have our import here. It doesn't look like we have import, so let's go ahead and import this first. So import from, where's my API? utils, okay, utils / thank you API. And then there's a default keyword, so I can call it anything I want. So I'll copy it. I'll call it API. All right. All right. Now I can call my API.get books method over here. Okay. Do I need to pass anything? I don't need to pass because it's not taking anything. It just no parameters required over here, right? Because I'm trying to get all the books. Okay, now this returns me a promise, so this doesn't stop here. I have to implement the then function. Okay, my then function was going to have the data. All right, and then remember I showed you guys the catch method. This is when if there's any error that happens when you're making this call, usually you will see a catch method. This is if any error comes through, go ahead and execute this catch function, skip the then function. All right. It's usually good to have that so that you can console log or give an error message or something to your user showing that something bad happened. So for now we'll just log this error and we'll end this method here. I'm missing one. Yes. Okay. Again, arrow functions. I'm going to be using arrow functions everywhere. Now my then function, what does it take as a parameter? Huh? Huh?
You can name it whatever you want.
No, but what's the parameter for the then function? Like, okay, for the catch, what is the parameter for catch? Callback function. By default, just toggle callback function.
I mean, last time I did the callback.
I was not callback. Okay. Everybody understand? So the parameter for my catch function is a callback function. For my then is also callback function. Okay. It's just a different syntax. It's the arrow function, but basically you will say function. You will declare anonymous function. But the only difference over here is our syntax. Okay, so in my callback function, I'm going to get a result. This will have all the data. Okay. Um, so the next part was that when you do it, set the state, this dot state dot books. Okay, so when I get my data back, I'm going to set my state and I'm going to assign this array, set state method. Okay, and my state, you can see already has a books array defined over here. Okay, so this is what I'm setting my data to. Now, what does my set state? What is a parameter that goes for my set state and it's not callback? Object. All right. So either callback or object. Just callback and object. That's it.
Are you sure?
We have a 50% chance of getting this right. All right. All right. So you have to pass in an object for the set state method. All right. So what am I setting? I'm setting this books variable y books because in my state it's declared as it has a books object. All right, and this is going to be results dot data. Oh wow, what is that?
Whoa, what an autocorrect.
Wow.
Thanks, IntelliSense.
Okay. Results dot data. Where is this coming from? Go ahead and console log. You will see results come in, and there's a data parameter.
Result is missing an S, or the results has too many S's.
Yes.
Whichever you prefer.
Prefer this because it's an array.
Yeah.
All right. And this should give you when the page loads. Okay. All right. Questions before we proceed? All right. So if this was successful, you should see a list of books at the bottom, and there it is. Okay. So I had 16 books that I added, and these all show up on my list. Let's make sure we covered everything for this exercise. If successful, list of books should render on the right side of the page. This is a small one, so it kind of it's at the bottom. And we did all of this. All right. Oops. Go back. All right. Any questions, Jeff? Everybody good? Clear. That's what the revision week is for. All right. We'll go on to the next one. Jeff, you're good? All right. Let's look at the next one then. Ah, this is a good one. What is it?
Next one is number 10.
Number 10. Yes, please. Okay. So this is number 10. Again, I already have the npm installed, so I'm not going to do that. The first one is already done. So we can go ahead and run this and see what shows up. I think it already has the list of books. So unsolved, let's see, and then npm start. Let's go ahead and see what shows up here. Okay. So everybody able to run this? This is how it should show up. Okay. So this code, all right. This code has the solution from the previous one. That's why you see that at the bottom you will see these books. All right. Where are these coming from? From the previous code. What was the function that we used? The lifecycle method. Component did mount, right? So if you open this up for this one, there should be a component did mount that should be already there, and it should be calling an API. Okay, and there is this method over here. Now this is the solution. They have what they have done is they have wrapped it around a method called load books, and then they're calling load books. All right, but still it's the same thing. Everybody understand this thing, right? It just wrapped around the load books method. I think this is being called further in the exercise, so that's why what they did was the solution created a function, but within that function is still the same thing that we just saw in the previous one. Okay. Any questions before we start? Everybody understand what is going on over here? Component did mount, right? This is calling a method called this load books, and within load books it's the same API.getBooks. They have just created a function, a wrapper function for it, and the reason might be because we might be using this method multiple times, so that's why it's there. Okay. Once you delete, I think this has to reload. Remember. So you have to call this load method again. So instead of writing these 5 lines again and again, it's already in one function. But the same concept, same thing that we just coded before. Okay. All right. So let's see what do we have to do in this one. Open the books.js, add the code so that title, author, synopsis are updated as their corresponding input components are updated. All right, see the name properties on each input. Any props you attach to the input components will be passed down to their underlying elements. All right, so basically, what are we talking about? We are talking about this component, this form. Okay, why? It says input. How many? If you look at the whole page, these are the only 3 inputs. There's no input over here. All right, by input, it means input text boxes from HTML. Okay. So I have to write code and kind of fix this, and when you click the submit button, you should go ahead and save the book in your database. Okay, everybody understand what we have to achieve over here? We'll type the title, author, synopsis. When you click submit book, you should go ahead and save it to your database. Right now, click the submit button, nothing happens. Okay. It kind of refreshes the page. Again, same question. Why is it doing that? You answered it last time.
Yeah.
All right, somebody else other than Blair. Oh, I think he doesn't even remember.
Don't test me.
You guys hear that? Because right now it's just a form, and the default behavior of the form is go ahead and submit back, do a post request. All right? That's why you see the whole page kind of refreshes. When we talk about React, I talked about control forms, right? That's what they call it. What it means is that you take this behavior from your HTML and give it to React. React is the one who should be controlling this form. I mean, when you click submit, it shouldn't go back and refresh and kind of submit it on its own. This is the default behavior of any form. And you guys remember from HTML, this is what the form behavior is. Okay, it's useful when we are doing HTML, when we are not using any library, because that's a function there is. But in this case, we are using React, so we don't want this to do anything on its own. We want the control to go to React. So this is then called a control form. Right now, it's not. It's out of control, basically. Okay. All right. So that's what we have to do. Let's look at our books. All right. Somebody tell me what are the components do I need to, which one these correspond to? Like where is the title? This component, this part, where is this over here, which is where is author, where is synopsis? Joffrey, go ahead. Line number? 38 and 39. You guys see it? So my title input box corresponds to line number 38. My author corresponds to line number 39, and then 40 for my synopsis. My submit book should be somewhere down, right below it. All right, yeah, 41. Okay. Now from our, what do we have to do? it is missing some of the attributes over here, right? Let's go ahead and put it in a new line so that it's just easy to see. Okay. So what is the first method event that I need to capture on my title box? What was that? Value. What is value over here? What is it? The content. Exactly. Right? As soon as you type in, these values are changing. Right? That's what I need to capture. Before I hit the submit button, I need to know what was typed. And how do I find that out? As Laura pointed out, value. Okay? And Laura, what's the event to capture that value? You're right, value we have to capture. What's the event? Do you remember the event? What is it? Oh, no. We are not there yet. Just the event. I need to capture this, right? So, like, what is the event for a button? On click, right? What is the event for capturing that value? Anybody else? On change. You remember? On change, because as soon as these values are changing, what was that? Did you say that?
No, I thought.
You thought about it?
I second guessed myself.
Oh. All right. So the event would be on change. Okay. Oops. And then value would be the state. Okay. So this dot state dot, is it author? Author. All right. Any questions so far? Everybody understand when it comes to form, when it comes to input boxes, the event that we need to capture is called on change, and then the values. Yes. What is it? Oh yeah, sorry. It should be a title. Yeah. Anything other than capturing my typos?
He's doing it on purpose.
No, that was not on purpose. I didn't even see what it was. All right. Any other questions? All right. So on change event, we need to pass in a function, right? On change, it should call a function. Now, what kind of a function is it? What is the parameter that you can pass in this function? It's not called.
I know it's called
What's the other?
object.
It's an object. All right, but it's kind of a special object. So event. What's the object that you pass in as a parameter for any of these event functions? It's a function with one parameter, and usually you call it event. Remember this? E or event, or those, when you look at jQuery, you're passing in an E or event. That gets passed into any of your call or in any of your click methods. Click, on value change, it doesn't matter. All right? Any of those functions that you declare over here, this thing is expecting to call a function with only one parameter or no parameters. And that parameter can only be an object of this type, of an event. It's going to be an event object. There is nothing else you can pass in. Just remember that. On any of those events, this is the only requirement that you can put a function over here that has one parameter or no parameters. If there's a parameter, it's always going to be an event. It doesn't matter what you name over here, but it's going to put the event data in this variable, in this parameter. Okay? You cannot pass an ID, you cannot pass anything else. It doesn't matter. It won't render, it won't work. Everybody understand that? On change, on click, whatever event you use. It's always going to be a function that you have to declare over here. And the parameter for that would be an event. All right. So let's go ahead and create a function. This dot handle input change. Now we haven't created this function. I'm just stubbing it out over here, right? So you're going to call. Basically, you're saying on change, call this function, right? Now the definition of this function. What is it going to have? It's going to have one parameter of type event, right? It's going to have data for that event. That's what it's going to have. All right. So let's go ahead and create this. Let me copy this so that I don't make a typo in the name. So I'm creating a function called handle input change, and my only parameter can be event. Okay. And then it's going to have a body with this event. Okay. Everybody clear on this part? You cannot pass anything else other than event. Okay. All right. So what do we have to do in this? We have to set the state, right? And my event is going to have the values for this. So you guys remember the destructuring. What is it?
I
Remember?
remember.
Okay, I read. I
It's a scarring experience.
I spent a lot more amount on just creating this while it was even ready. You guys remember destructuring? It's kind of interesting that I'm using the Airbnb linter, and if you don't use destructuring, they will point it out, say, hey, destructure this. I mean, they're kind of enforcing this kind of a syntax. Kind of interesting. Okay, now what is happening over here? What is this doing? Line number 30. Ivana, do you remember?
So, the variable?
Line number 30.
Okay, so
Ali?
You're assigning. it's the same thing as saying const name. It's the same thing as saying const name equals event.target.name.
Excellent.
Const value is event.target value.
You guys see what she's saying? So this is same as saying putting in two different lines and saying const name is equal to event.target.name, event.target.value. So event.target, if you go ahead and console log, this event.target has a lot of properties. From them, there are two properties, name and value, right? So this over here should match the name. If you put name 1 over here, is it going to work? It's not going to work because there is no property called name1 in this variable event.target, so it's not going to work. So these two should match over here. That's the ES6 format. They have kind of come up with this, that if this property exists on this side, on the right side, it's automatically going to get assigned to these two. Okay? And name and value are coming from name and value. Okay? These are coming from over here. Right, so I have this. Now I'm going to set the state. So this dot set state, this is the only way you can set the state using the set state method, and then you pass in a object. All right, name is equal to value. You guys remember this, Jeff? What's what am I doing on these lines? These three lines? Something cool. Not the right answer.
It was something so you can have.
I'm looking for a more profound answer than
Well,
that.
ask Jeff. His name was Jeff. Ask Jeffrey, not Jeff.
What is it?
It's an object.
It's a callback.
John, you don't know?
It's allowing it so when you type in the fields A, it knows what the field is, and B, it refreshes the page.
Okay. Why am I using this? I'm trying to set the value that is typed over here. Now, what would I do over here? What I want is whatever this field, the name of this title is, and the name of this input is title. Okay? So I want to capture the value of the title. What I would do is, if you look at your state, there's a title property over here. This is equivalent of title. You're setting the title value. But the problem over here is I have another box over here. This is called author. Yes, George.
So basically, what you're saying is, it's able to capture the value.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or synopsis is able to grab all the information. You don't have to part a bunch of code.
Right.
Title, what the author.
Yep. Exactly. It captures the correct one. Now, if I want to set the author one, what would I have to do? In this case, I have to say author value. But the problem in this is it's going to only capture one at one time. So it's going to set the title value for both of them, then it's going to set the author value for both of them, because this is going to run at the same time. So to avoid this, this is the syntax. And then this kind of gets evaluated. And then you get either title or author or synopsis over here, and the value is assigned to that variable. Yes?
And then once it gets a little more complex and you have more values, all you have to do is add names. So you can add
That's true. Yeah, if I have to add another input box over here, George is saying you can add a year. Do I have to change anything over here? Absolutely not. This exactly stays the same. Okay? Awesome.
Why do they use the array syntax for looking at it?
Maybe we can, you can create an issue on their board and say, hey, why do you guys use that?
I was hoping there was some profound reason.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure. I would agree that they're running out of options. They're like, hey, why not just start using this? So, kind of confuse people, right? It's JavaScript. Nothing is easy over here. Okay. So my handle input change is done. Anything over here that I need to do other than capturing this? I have the method. I have my handle input change over here. Do I need to do event.default over here? Why? Handle input change. What does it correspond as soon as I type in something? When I type in something, is it submitting the form? No.
It's complete.
Right? So I don't have to do event dot the next one. Yes. All right. This was a test. All right. Again, you need the event.prevent default when you are submitting the form. Okay. You don't need it in handle input change or anything. All right. So let's go ahead and complete the next one also. So author, what's going to be author? Same thing, value. Just copy this. So it's going to be exactly the same method. Okay, except this is going to be author. Okay, same handle input change. Again, I don't have to, I can reuse the same method, right? Because I'm using that literal over there. It already knows what name is coming through. And then let's do the same thing for our synopsis. Okay. Compiled successfully, so everything looks good. All right. All right. Any questions? Everybody understand and then get an idea? That's good. All right. Let's do the submit form. This time, where is my button? Line number 61. Okay. So if you click it, it still kind of submits the form. The first thing is you need an event over here. Okay, what's that event called? On click. So let's go ahead and code that out. Let's put it in a different line. All right. Event is called on click, and it takes in a function. And what are the properties? What is the property of this function? The function that I define over here. How many parameters can it have? 0 or 1, and that one parameter is going to be always an event. All right, same. On click, on change, doesn't matter what other you are using, what other event you are using. Okay, so stub it out. Let's call it handle input submit. Okay, I haven't defined this method yet, so let's go ahead and um, create this method. So I'm going to copy this name. Let's create it over here. All right, so this is it, it is going to have an event. All right. And this should be it. Okay, takes an event, same as handle input change. Okay, now if I click the submit button, it is posting, it's going back to the server. How do I stop this? Event.prevent default, and that's where I need this. So event.prevent default. Okay, and now if you go ahead and submit, you see it stays over here. All right, if you console log, you will see console logging whatever you put over here, but it's not going back and submitting anything. All right, that's how you do it. All right, what do we have to do when we click the submit button? Save the book. Okay, and what is, where would I find the save method? API, so API dot save book. Okay, and then let's stub this out. Save book is again going to give me a promise, so I need the then function and then the catch function if there's any errors. So let's stub this out and put this in another line too. It looks nicer. Oops. Okay. All right. Let's complete the catch. That's the easiest one if there's any error. Oops. So go ahead and console log error. Another thing I found interesting is in my linter, they kind of discourage using console log. Yeah, they kind of say, hey, don't do console log. Either use some other logging library or make sure there's no console log in your code. What is it? Is what? Morgan. Morgan. I don't know what Morgan is. Only Morgan I know is from Socrates.
Apparently the NPM package is named after Dexter Morgan.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So either use some other package which kind of logs it. But it was interesting that I found it out. Anyway. All right. So let's go ahead and complete my save book method. Now, what is save book expecting? What do I need to pass in for my save book? It's an object, right? You see over here it says any object. So right, it shows up over here in the help. It says book data. That's the one. Okay. Yep. So I need to pass in an object, right? And this object has how many properties? 3 properties. The first one is title. And how do I get the title back? Dot state dot title. Okay. Second is my author. Oops. Author. This dot state dot author. And this is my synopsis. Okay. And this is all I need to pass in. Okay. On my then, it's going to give me result. Actually, give me result and all right. What did I just do in line number 46? Right. You see the where this is coming in handy, the load books one. When this call is complete, if it is successful, then it will come to the dot then function. If it is successful, what do? I just go ahead and load the books and refresh the page. and goes ahead, pulls all the data from your MongoDB again and shows up on the screen. Okay, so I think this is it for this one. Anything else am I missing over here? Clearing the form. Okay, where would I do that? In what?
After, like, within the handle, you put submit after the API call, maybe reset the state. Yeah, oh, look, there you
Oh,
go.
it's already doing it.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's already part of this. Okay, so let's go ahead and we have a book here. Okay. Right now this doesn't show up over here. So if the code is correct, it should go, submit it, and come back and show the book over here. There it is. Okay. Now we complete the submit form. Any questions? Jeff, good. Everybody good here? Okay. All right. Let's look at the part 2, delete button. So where's my delete button?
X.
It is this X over here. That's the delete button. Okay? You guys see it? All right. So what do I have to do when I click delete? Right now it doesn't work. It doesn't do anything. So we have to write code. Then when you click this, it should go ahead and delete this book. Okay? Now in the code, where is this X corresponding to? Stop me when you see it. Stop. Okay? Which line? Line number 93. You see the delete button over here? What is delete button? It's a component. Wow. So glad you guys said that. That was so good. So you guys see a callback instead of callback or object. Alright? You guys see delete button is a component, right? There's nothing like delete button in HTML or anything, but you see the green thing also just kind of helps you out. So this is a component. Okay? So you go ahead and open this component. Looks like it's a function component, and there's your X over here, and it's passing few things. What is this dot props? Anybody looked this up?
Spread operator.
Spread operator. What does it do?
It lets you use arrays of argument or it's complicated. But like,
All right. Anybody else? Yes. Go ahead.
like certain things that you want to put in certain places and it's not like reasonable in other syntax, they develop a spread operator to let you put them there.
Okay. Anybody else? Kind of close.
There's definitely better explanations out there.
Any better explanation? Anything easier? Is there something similar to that we have already seen? Yes. Destructuring. This is just destructuring. And the same thing. What is destructuring? You assign something from the object, you don't have multiple lines. This is exactly what this thing does. Now what do we pass in props? Remember in props, they're coming from the parent. You can pass in some attributes basically, right? So I already have a class name, give me some HTML attribute. Let's suppose source, that's an HTML attribute. Let's say name is one. Let's say there's all. Right, these are all attributes. And you can pass these in from your parent component to the child, and these will come as props. Right? Now this operator, if you had a span over here, and you need to assign source, but what you have to do, you will have to say source is equal to props dot source, right? If there's a props coming as odd, you will have to say props dot alt. Okay, everybody remember this? This is how you use the property. Now this spread operator, what it does is, if you just put as dot props, it will look up these properties and assign it to the same name. So if there is a source src coming, it will say src is equal to props dot source. It will kind of spread it out. If there is an alt in here, it's going to say alt is equal to props dot alt. It will automatically kind of destructure itself. If there is a name, it will say name is equal to props dot. It will do it for you. So the shorter syntax is that whatever the properties are coming in, assign them to the same name property, like source or name. If you pass in source sourc, right? It will just say source is equal to props dot source. I mean, it won't work, but that's what it is. Okay. There might be some source, probably I don't know, but this is what it will do. Okay, so it's a kind of destructuring syntax. It's kind of similar functionality, kind of spread. It's called a spread operator, so it kind of spreads it out. Okay, assigns to the same attributes. Okay, better explanation? You got it? What is it?
I said that was way better.
All right. So delete button, I have to click again. What do I have to do if I have to do a click over here? On click. On click. Okay. On click, what does on click take? 0, 1. Okay. But what do I have to do over here? What am I? Oops. Let me take this out. Oops. From the functionality wise, what should happen? When I click this button, what should ideally happen? Like, how does it know that I have to delete this particular row? By the ID. Excellent. All right. If you look it up, there's a book ID over here. So every list item is tied by the book ID. So I have this key over here, right? And then you have this book ID. You can use this, and this will correspond to the right one. Okay. So in my delete function, what do I need to pass in? I have to pass in an ID. So if you look up your API code, and this is the function that you would have to call, and you have to pass an ID. Okay. Now this is where what I was telling you before, and I was kind of building up to this point. Hopefully you guys can appreciate this now a little bit. So I can only pass. Did I write this right? Or is it complete? Okay. So I can only write a function. I can only call a function over here that has event, right? But I need an ID to be passed in. Okay. An ID needs to go in. I cannot pass an ID in this function. Is everybody clear? I can only in this on click, there has to be a function that takes an event, just like on value change, on change on the previous on click. Remember, the function that you can put over here can only take event. You cannot pass an ID. Okay. And the solution is, Andrew pointed out the first time, you wrap it around another function. You create your same function, the event function, right? Within that function, you call your delete method. Basically, what you are doing is you are creating a function similar to handle input change or handle input submit. Why? Because this is the only definition that you can put, right? But within this definition, you can call any function, right? So what I'm trying to do is I'm creating this function. Within this function, I'm going to call the delete function over here. Okay? Now this would be something similar. This dot delete book. Okay, and if I define delete book on the top, I can only have event over here. Okay, and then within this method, you can go ahead and call your actual API method. Okay, so let me show you this. If I do this, what is going on over here? What is this syntax? What is this? It's an arrow function. It's an arrow function. So basically, remember, if I do this, what happened? I'm kind of making a similar method over here. This, I created a method separately, handle input submit, right? I created this on the top, right? But you don't have to actually create this method. All this requires is, it has to be a method. Okay? Is this a method? This is also a method, right? You are just creating a method over here and giving it that method. Okay? Now, as I said, either you can pass an event or nothing. You don't need the event, so I'm not going to pass anything. Now within this function, you can call your delete method. This dot delete book and pass some ID. And where's my ID? Book dot underscore. Now this method does not exist, so I'm going to go ahead and create this method. But this is what is happening. So there is an on click. You can only pass in a function that takes event or nothing. So this is my arrow function over here. This is that function. Okay, do you guys see that there is a function? Now within that function, there is another function called this or delete. Okay, so a function within a function, and this is how you have to do if you want to pass anything else other than an event. You have to wrap it around another function. Okay, this is the way that you have to do. If you pass in an ID over here, it's not going to work, right? Because this function, the outer one, this only expects nothing or an event. Do you guys see there are two functions over here? This is one function, and this function is wrapped around this function. Okay? All right, questions? Anybody who's not clear right now? The next part is easy. You just have to create this method and call your API.deleteBook. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and create this delete book method on the top, and that should take care of our deleting the book. So delete book, and this time I'm getting an ID. Okay? And then go ahead and call our API.deleteBook. So API.deleteBook. Same thing, returns a promise and then an error. Oh, sorry, dot catch, and catch will have an error. Okay. Let's go ahead and complete this. I'm just going to copy this way. Okay. And then we can follow the same one. As once this is deleted, I'm going to go ahead and kind of re-render my page, and I'm going to reload the page with new books with this after the deleted book, and then I need to pass in an ID. That's it. Okay. This part is easy compared to what I was showing you below. That was the trick over here. So we kind of build up that these function only takes an event or nothing. If you have to pass in something else other than this, you have to wrap it around the function. You have to call it within that function. Okay? All right, so go ahead and delete this, and they should go ahead and delete this book. What is it?
No, this one I got one.
Okay. All right. Any questions on this? All right. Let's take a break until 8:10, and then I'll do the last one, and then the rest of the time is, of course, if there anything remaining. Okay. The last one is the router one. I think that should be pretty straightforward, but again, I don't know. The router one is the most difficult one. You get it working?
In the time. No, I didn't get it working. But I got a little button.
Oh, okay.
Working.
That's progress.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Because I had it working like with the passport, and so I found a guy who was doing it.
The
with,
video?
Like, it's not a video. It's like a walkthrough, you know.
Okay.
But some of it is different, where I can tell because like when they do the browser router. Like, we don't have to, he's using, like, the browser router there, and we don't have to use that now. I think it's like, this is an older version of React.
No. Remember what I talked about browser router?
Yeah, well,
He's not renaming it. That's not.
it's just so he can use a switch and all that stuff.
No. We are using browser router. We have an extra. We say browser router as browser. So we are renaming that.
Oh, that's it. That's why it's not working. God.
Yeah, it's the same thing. There's no.
Oh, yeah, we just rename it so we can read it.
Yeah.
So this application, so this is basically
Jeff?
Hey, where I'm a bit fuzzy still, and
Okay.
if you could touch on it, kind of what you're going through, is how. This is an excellent example of a full project back in the front
Yes.
end.
Yep.
And I'm fuzzy on some of the components on
Okay.
how the back end works with the front end.
Okay.
For instance, like say, an example would be like if I'm calling the API from the back end, and I want to do a GET call, where do I do that? If I'm going to do that from within React or from a JS file inside React? I'm just kind of unsure how the communication
Okay.
goes.
Okay, I'll go through it one more time. Yeah.
Alright, cool.
so if we go and create
Everybody can deploy, push, build their PR, then you'll come here and run the instance.
is there if desired this guy I have the basic skeleton of an app deployed to production.
I haven't really.
Yes, just created it.
Do it like,
I don't know.
so you have your master branch? Sure.
You have your dev branch, and then your dev branch is what you create your branch. Because don't you have your ASU code?
Uh,
Is you turning it on?
So I do know that it's I have dev. So I did get the don't fret.
Oh.
He doesn't know how to use email.
But I guess my question
It's hard to keep track of shit. He doesn't know how to use email.
you keep master as the default or
No.
so
So create a dev branch, set that as the default. Whenever people close the event, they'll run the dev branch first. And you restrict the master branch. So before you create the request, you master from dev. Set up like a model here to turn meeting code really quick. And then yeah, that's what I did.
So I have that set up. We're just kind of weird with all of the commands and stuff. So, once you've done that'll be good. I don't think that's solved this problem.
Yeah, no, that's something different.
Okay.
I haven't used Heroku pipelines. And I can take a look at it and see what it's all about. But this is a DevOps topic. So
like Ty better than John.
it's yeah. So seems cool.
It's really good too.
Yeah.
I just can't
You just have all of them.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I can take a look at it. I haven't used it, so I'll do my best to.
There's not that much spice on
Find
it.
anything.
I know even though like probably different. Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
different.
That's what I use.
Okay.
Why it's not
Okay.
I can't find anyone back in the information that seems to be there.
Everything in moderation, bro. I mean, I'm saying they're way better than
Yeah,
a lot of
I mean,
other
I
shit.
should-
I don't think at the same time if you're eating What? Put your whole foot in I mean, yeah, it's like some ridiculous
Before you
thing.
can actually
Well, that
So
is.
we have the argument
You can sing with pretty much everything.
You got a good story to tell people.
Air.
So I'm trying to get on my foot in the car.
I had to dive out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, from there. I didn't really feel
I just
that
like
different.
to have this texture on it. It doesn't hurt, but I'm like, I'll walk on it.
I don't know.
It's just like sprayed.
That's like it's probably like probably worse to do that.
That might be true.
Snapping it. What makes you think it's all?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Just didn't really.
That bow, the heel strong as ever.
So what happened was,
saying it.
As he's saying it,
it was 5 at one point.
Stuff that I'm saying.
Well,
And I advised myself to also upgrade it. So I was running, and then put my clothes down.
Bullshit.
It went like that.
Oh!
I thought I did.
Okay, okay, so
Oh, that's yeah.
so like,
I remember tired hands like.
yeah, I will say this with the
even though that is
Probably.
that is the technically correct word to use.
Yeah, I mean they're both about man. That's hard.
What is it?
Okay.
I'm not English.
Alright, so you know how I have the internship right now, which is cool. Did I
No.
tell you that? Okay.
You got an
Well,
internship? Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
but it's not paid.
What? Come on.
That's one
Where is
reason why I
it?
got it.
Where is it?
Well, so I went to a startup grind event.
Okay.
Just like it's just like a organization, and it has to do with like Google for startups.
Okay.
That's one of their sponsors and stuff. But anyway, so it's just like they have events where and people where like somebody speaks who had a startup and was successful or whatever,
Oh,
and then like you can network with people who have startups or whatever.
Okay.
So anyway, so I met these people who were looking for interns, and then like on the spot, I just thought, well, I could be unpaid for like the next 9 months. I'll just offer that. And then I said that,
Oh, okay.
but then so then I got it. But then anyway,
So they
But
said
it's-
it's an intern, or you
I
said,
said that.
oh, you said that.
and
Okay.
but then they accepted that.
Okay. Well,
But
yeah,
it,
who would
it'll
not
prob-
accept it?
Yeah, it'll probably turn into something paid from
Okay.
what I've said to them. But anyways, so so now I have like an opportunity to actually do something for the it's kind of for their website, but not because like nobody knows about this particular page.
Okay.
If that makes sense, like it's
Okay.
not linked to the homepage yet
Oh, okay.
or
Okay.
at all. Like anyway, but so yeah, I can only say so much because I'm not, like some stuff is like secret, but like
Okay.
I can't tell you why it has to be like secure. But like
Right.
it would be really good. What I told them I would do, but then I was like, I hope I can do it. But it's like, cause so they want to enter some information, like they want to enter in some information, just text and maybe images, and then just submit it, and then it posts to the page, right? Which I know I can do. But then it's like they can't just have anybody post to the page. It can only be this particular person who works for them. So it needs to be private, like where he can log in, enter that information,
Right.
submit it, and then it goes to the page. But the page should still be that if anyone goes to that URL, they can see the page and they can
Yeah.
see everything that's posted, right? Okay, so so that's just like from what I've read. So what I would want, right, is for it to be secure enough that it's not like you just make an account, because then anybody could just make an account, and then, right, it needs to be that, so like it needs to be approved that someone even makes an account, right?
Okay.
So then I saw online that it was saying like you could make an account so secure that you request that the person has to request registration, right? And then their request gets approved by a website administrator.
Right.
So I just don't know how to do that. Have you ever done something like that?
So a couple of options. What you can do is you can. So maybe you can create admin page. Okay. Now this admin page is going to only have option to log in. Okay. In this admin page, you can see what are the requests that came in for the registration. Okay, and then you can have something that this is approved, this is rejected, this is approved, this is rejected. Okay. Now what you do is that when this is your admin page where he or she does the approval or rejection. Now that's your main page, that your secret page. Does it have what you can do is you can have an input box, right? And then you have a sign up box and a login box. So once this signs up, right, after the information is done, give a message saying, oh, your registration is pending. Okay. That's it, says, and that's it. Nobody can proceed. So what you do is that with this information, let's take it goes to your data first. Right? So you have some columns with some information, whatever it's put in. Let's use your email. Right, this is what I'm saying. It has to, right? So you'll have an email, you'll have their name, and then you'll have one more called approval status. They don't know the others. Okay, so then this screen is not going to. So how are they going to approve it?
So now we just need to try and break it to see if it stops it.
Right, but this information has to be somewhere, right? When they sign in, right? What are you comparing?
So that way,
They
like,
put in their email,
if we accidentally
they put in password.
Right.
How does this combination knows that they can access it? So you have to do this Yeah, there's some kind of a store. Or you can do it is for this email password, it goes to some third party authentication, OAuth or Passport.js or whatever, or Google or something has to have a store. Somebody has to authentication. No, not as a database. It'll be authentication. So this will say, okay, you are authenticated. You can go ahead and join the race. Yeah, yeah. It will still be one person as long as they don't sign up. So this page that I was saying, the reject and approval, this won't work if you don't have database because you don't know this page loads. It kind of shows you what are the pending approvals and pending or who you rejected. But you need to keep a count of that. So if there's no database, you cannot actually keep a count of this. Okay.
Well, the DPC fees on the Dragon Seeders was like $1,000.
Seems like a non-technical person just had a
one episode company. I haven't seen this one since.
So if I use
But again, if you're using Google Auth, Google Auth will work with their Gmail and again, that's yeah. That's okay. Google Auth, yeah, we'll give you back if they have a like Gmail or something.
Oh no, so wait, the first thing I saw is
because these are your system users, right? So the page that you're trying to spread
person flying up to the
is supposed to be for certain users,
Dragon I reinstalled it.
though only you know what user should be able to access it, right? That's the problem.
Yeah, well, so I was gonna show them.
Yeah, don't you remember when she was going to destroy the moon?
So
Back
how
in
about I
season
do
two?
it?
Oh yeah, database kind of solves all these things. So if you have a database, right, what you do is you store those columns in your, you have your email, and you have I don't know whatever you need for sign up, and then approval. So like another column for approval. In this page, in the admin page, if they say, oh, this person is initially when the person comes in, you can set a status call pending. Okay. So this person, if the approval status is pending, nobody can log into the page. Once they say, oh, approve, this changes to A, and then you can update your database with an A or reject right here R. So if it is A, right, so you will check your database for maybe authentication, the person is authenticated. After that, you're going to wait and see if this error has approval of A, rejected, or pending. If it is anything other than A,
I'm afraid.
give them an error message and call you.
I'm really I've been watching so many right now. That's what I've been watching.
I'm not sure if there's a video, but this would be gist.
I mean, you should.
Basically, you have to create a database with some files and status column that tells you whether the user is approved. I'm not sure there's creating a approval process. I mean, I don't know what
Another one of getting activation classroom.
okay. Like approval system in JavaScript. Yeah, activity or something. I'm not sure. Special use case. But really have fun. At least I'm kind of not happy that's not me.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Pretty much. Yeah, no.
Yes.
So I'm a tutor.
Okay.
And we've been having 2 weeks, so I had to get
Before he
reassigned.
destroys it.
Oh, okay.
Right, a month left. I was got a new tutor. She actually got the time since second session. He didn't send me the link to
Okay.
our thing, so our session sent messages when I went to court, like, hey, never got the link the day
Right,
before,
right.
what's up? He's like, oh, yeah, looks like it didn't send. We can do 2 sessions. He has not sent me the calendar thing to actually schedule the sessions again. He was rescheduling yesterday, so I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm getting too much school. I mean, it's very sucks. Sucks to have to request a new tutor.
Did you talk to Brent?
That's what I was wondering. I don't know who to talk to.
Yeah, Brent is the best person because again, I'm not sure how the review process works to be honest, but talk to Brent as soon as possible. Email him. He's pretty good at responding on your Slack messages and email. Email him, Slack him, make sure you get your message through, and he should be able to sort it out pretty quickly. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. The last activity again. Are these activities helping? Again, I don't want you to keep you guys if you guys are, again, you guys have the option if you guys want to work on your project. Just do it outside the class. But if it is helping, you can stay and learn. It's okay. Okay. Again, I don't want you to keep you guys because it's taking much longer than I anticipated. So
This is really
Fine.
good review.
okay. All right. So here's Jeff was asking. Again, it's the same confusion, and I know people get confused a lot. The difference between the front end and the back end. If you remember from project 2, I was saying that the biggest thing I have seen with students is if you just have in your project 1, they were just front end, right? But when you have your back end and your front end, that's where the confusion occurs. And the packages are kind of similar. Axios is one for front end and one for back end, so that makes it even more kind of confusing.
Thanks, Jake.
Right? Right. So what I'm going to walk through is what part is back end, and mainly from your front end, how do you make a call to your back end? Right? That's the question, and that's what we'll talk about. And this folder structure again, in my project, I'm going to use this. This is really nicely laid out. It both has the front end modularized very well, kind of follows the MVC architecture. So this is pretty good. Okay. Now. The one thing that we need to clarify and remember, if you're following this folder structure, the only front-end code is going to be in the client folder. There's no place else you have your front-end code. Okay? The client folder has all your code for front-end. Everything else over here is back-end. There's no front-end over here. Even the package JSON is for your back-end. Right? The package JSON, remember client has their own package JSON. So that's part of the front. Okay, the first thing is this part is your front end, everything else over here is back end. When I talk about back end, this is all Node.js. Okay? The client folder is written in React, everything else is written in Node.js. Node.js, 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 Node.js.
What if you're doing like MVCs?
Right, MVC is model, view, controller. So you see model, you see controller. What is a view? Yeah, handlebar, the kind of.
I just want to make sure.
So we got an MCC, right?
MCC. You can change it to view.
Yeah, let's do it. Coward.
Then it ends up in the middle though.
Okay, that's the first thing. Now, how does your front end talk to your back end? Okay, now from the architecture point of view, you are going to make a call from your front end to your back end, right? Let's see. Where's my Oh, there it is. Everybody good with this? I'm going to
Basics. Please get rid of it. It's evil.
Well, too late. Oh, I forgot my pedestal over there.
Oh no. And they banished us from the second floor, Daniel. What are you going to do?
Alright. So from my client or my front end, I have to contact my backend, right? And how do I do it? Through Ajax call. Put it here. Okay, so I need to make an Ajax call. This is the only way you can communicate with your backend, right? And the reason is this resides on somewhere on the HTTP, and your backend is also residing on some www. Okay, and by backend we mean your APIs. Okay, is everybody clear now? Okay, so you have to call an API. Now, does it matter if this is a third-party API or your API from the architecture from this perspective? Right, the front end doesn't care. It's going to call HTTP / something, right? For this client, this could be your custom API or a third-party API. It doesn't care. It doesn't know, right? So from your over here, you have to make an Ajax call just as you would call a third-party API or some backend code. Okay. Now over here, my APIs. If I'm using my custom APIs, I have my APIs called books, and then I have an API called books with an ID. Okay, and then I have my post calls and delete calls and all that stuff. Okay, these are my APIs that are on my server. Okay, now if I want to call from my client, I have to make an Ajax call. Okay, now on this part, if I have to make an Ajax call, we are using the package called Axios. Okay, this is on the front end. Backend also has Axios, but let's go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, so if I'm looking for Ajax call, it cannot be anywhere else other than client. Everybody agrees? Because this is front end, right? Your Ajax call is not going to be here anywhere else. So I open up my client, and then look through this folder, just this folder. Okay, so I have my source folder, and then my utils folder, and there's my API. Okay, let's open this one. Okay, so what is Axios.get doing? This is all making Ajax calls. Okay, so they're using Axios module, npm Axios. They have one for React also for the front end, right? You import that, install it. If you look up the package JSON, it already has a dependency, so it already installs it. And then you can go ahead and call these Ajax method. Okay, clear so far? Right? So you have to make an Ajax call, and this part is the one that is doing this. Okay. Now, if there's any third-party API, right? It's the same thing. You would say www dot http dot third. Okay, there's no difference, right? You guys see it? Even if I put this, you're calling some other API or your own API, it does not matter, right? From the front end, it doesn't matter. Okay, again, if you have to call something, you will call this. Now, what is the reason I'm putting just /API/books? How does it know where this is? Again, this thing is always going to call an API. It doesn't matter if it's third-party API or your API. This doesn't know. So how does it kind of resolve this URL? No, on the front end. We'll go back to the server. But over here, okay, what is it calling? It's calling a URL, right? Everybody agrees that axios.get anything is going to call a URL. Right. So yeah. So how does it? What is it adding to this root? Hosted domain, right? But I don't have anything over here. How does it know what is my hosted domain? What is it?
Express told it.
This part has nothing to do with Express right now. Again, let's do the one again. So this is my front end, right? If I make a Ajax call, I have to pass in a URL, right? And the URL is HTTP something something dot something, right? This is how I have to do it.
Is it the proxy thing that you have?
It's a proxy thing. Excellent. All right. That's the answer. All right. First of all, when I explain that, everybody understand that this you have to pass in a URL. It doesn't matter what the URL. It has to be a URL, a valid URL. Okay. In this case, this translates to okay. It has to be a valid URL, right? This actually is being translated to HTTP localhost 3001. And why is the case? Aaron pointed out the proxy thing. So if you look up your package JSON, you see this
What is it actually called? So I don't.
proxy. You see that proxy variable?
Proxy.
This is what I was saying, that in your React app, this is important. If you put in proxy and you mention this, then you don't have to go ahead when you make an Ajax call. You don't have to put in this HTTP localhost thing. Okay? When your React app runs, when it sees this, and then it's going to go and look for that proxy, it's going to add that proxy to it, and then it's going to make this call. Eventually, the call is still is this. Okay? You have to understand? Okay? Eventually, it's this call. The only thing is we added a proxy in our package JSON, so it knows where to go in. Now, what is the advantage of doing the other way versus this? If you go ahead and remove the proxy, remember I showed you guys remove the proxy and run it, you will see some CORS issues and all that stuff. So this thing kind of resolves that issues, right? The CORS issues that you see in your browser for your local APIs, it will take care of this for you. Okay, again, even in project 2, I said don't call any third-party API directly. Right? Remember in project 2, so many CORS issues. The best way is you call your third-party APIs that you are using from your Node.js, from this code. This code your Node.js code should go ahead and call any third-party APIs. Yeah. I'll come to that part. But don't try your best not to call any APIs from your front-end code. Or kind of hide them behind your back-end code. I'll get back to that one. Okay, but from your front-end, this is how you make that Ajax call. Okay, and this is making it to our back-end. And that's why you have that proxy, and it knows what this actually means. Okay, any questions on this? Now, where is this on our backend? This is on our backend, right? On our server. Now, where would that code be? Slash what?
API and books.
Yeah, where is it?
Folder browse.
Okay. Now we are going into our backend. Anything other than client is backend. Now somewhere I have defined this route on my backend. Whenever somebody does /API/books, it should go and do something, right? And that code it's kind of mixed. It's on your books also, and it's in your controller. So controller has some function. Let's look at our APIs. Okay. Now what is this saying? This is saying if a route comes in which does this thing, go ahead and call this function. If it matches with an ID, go ahead and call this method. Okay. Now we are done with the front end. Now we have to create some routes in Node.js. Remember, again, this is a more modularized way to create it. But if you look at some of the previous exercise of Node.js, we created routes. We had slash ID, the whole names. You're doing the exact same thing over here. The only difference is it's kind of nicely broken down in controller format over here. Okay, but basically you're still doing the same thing. So it gets. Let's see. What else do we have here? We have our routes, scripts.
Index requires the books routes.
Okay. So this is where it all begins. So your /books controller, you have defined it over here. Yeah. Anything after this, you are saying, oh, go ahead and look at your book routes basically, which are defined over here. So that's why you see the slash one kind of translates to /API/books. /API books kind of translates to this, and then you call whatever routes they are saying mentioning. If there's a get, call this function. If there's a put, call this function. If there's a delete, call this function. But the important point over here is that these routes are defined on your backend. So if I talk about backend, it's everything else other than client. Client is done. Okay. Now all of these routes are not making an Axios call, right? Because these are, what are they doing? They're going to your database and kind of bringing information, right? But if you have to call somebody like some other third-party API, this is where you would do it, right? If a route comes in with /API/books and I need to call Google Books API, this is where you will make an Axios call, saying call that and get the data back and then send it back. Okay. Again, this is more. I wouldn't say advanced, but this is more structured well. But if you look at some of the previous exercises of our Node.js calling, even the scraper one, right? You guys are calling APIs from your backend, basically from your Node.js code, right? You're using the Axios one. Look at that exercise. But this is the same thing. If you have to make a call to your database, same thing. If you want to make a call from a third-party API, call it from your backend, which is your Node.js code, right? And everything other than client folder is your backend. It's all Node.js code. There's nothing over here that is not Node.js. Yes.
There's like another index in the routes. It's not in the API. So yeah, close that folder. Not the routes one, the API one. And then look at the index one. That's where the root API is. So it's like 3 levels of. It's like the inception of requiring routes.
Right. Again, what I was saying is a good point over here, that how you're building that route. Again, you don't have to follow this. Just need to understand that you have to basically make these routes. Over here, they have kind of really modularized in 3 different files. But eventually, you can write this whole thing in just one file and say, oh, if there's a route for /API/books, just put this route, the whole thing. Go ahead and do this. If this is the route, go ahead and do this. Okay, you don't have to divide it, but this is a good way to divide everything. That's why it might seem more complicated, but if you're not comfortable, look at the Node.js activities. You will see that they are just, we have looked at some of the Mongoose one or even the MySQL one. They're just using API books. They're like kind of defining your Express file after your Express code. Okay, but this is it's kind of nice way they have divided all these stuff. So that's why it is like this over here. But again, understand that all you need is Express, and then you can type out all your routes over here, and that will still work. Okay, so again, everything other than the client folder is your. Let me close this out. Too many open. Okay, everything other than your client folder is your backend. Okay, controllers have all their function. Models are kind of defining your database models over here, right? Your Mongoose models over here. That's what your models folder has, and your routes kind of define all of those routes over here. Okay, script is just your seeds. Okay. What else? the main starting point, your server.js, right? Again, Node, you will see over here they're creating the express, and this is where all your routes kind of build up. In your previous exercises, we have written all the code in our server.js. Remember, right? We put all our routes over here, it will work. It doesn't matter. You can put all your routes in server.js and just connect to your database and start your server. That will also work. You can put your routes over here saying /API/books /API/books/ID. You can put all of them in just one file and it will still work. Okay? Kind of make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes it a little more complicated than it needs to be. It's just to make it clear. So if I'm running if I make a third-party API call function, and
Yes.
create a route to it,
Yes.
and then if I want to then pass parameters from API on the React side, pass it through a post back to the route.
Yes.
And fire the API.
Right. So this is what I was saying. Let's suppose you have your get /API/books on your end, and this actually calls your Google Books API. Okay. So on your front end, you will still do the same thing, or whatever parameters you need, a post or a get, you can pass whatever your Google Books API needs. You can ask the user over here to pass it to you. Let's suppose it's just ID, simple ID, right? You need an ID that you need to pass into your Google API, right? So you write your route, right, in your node and your server.js, and you say, oh, this is my route, I need an ID from the user. You pass that ID, right, and then you make an back-end Axios call to this Google API passing this ID, get the data back, again, same callback function, then function, get all the data back, and then send it back. Okay? So your user, your front end, never knows that there's what API is like. All it knows is, oh, this is my API, and this is kind of hosted on the same backend. I kind of know this route, so I'll just call this. Behind the scene, you might be calling Google Books API or any other API. Okay? All right, any other questions? Clear on how the front end and back end works? I've seen this is the most confusing, especially starting from project 2. I kind of explained, but I've seen that people kind of have a hard time differentiating between the front end and back end. Again, it's the same basic language, same kind of JavaScript, Node.js, so it doesn't really help which code you're talking, so people confuse, and they're trying to use they're trying to use require on their front end code. The require doesn't work. It's the import and export part, so that's where most of the confusions are. Okay. All right, everybody good? All right, do you guys want me to do the router one or not? Or yes?
Yes.
Why not? Why not? All right. All right, let's go ahead and start this before. Make sure this is working. All right. So open up app.js. That's where we are going to make all the changes. All right. So we have to create two routes: / and /books. Okay. And both of these routes should render your books component. All right. Everybody clear on that? So both of these routes are going to go ahead and render your books component. Okay. So let's open up our app.js and go ahead and fix this. Okay. So some of these are already imported. So we are going to use our React router. All right. I think I did the npm install, so it should already be there. So what are the imports that I need to do for our browser router? Yeah. So it's a React dash router dash. Let me look up the documentation here. React router DOM. Okay. Browser router. Yes. Browser router. What else? I need the route and then this one says use switch. So we'll take a look at and see what switch does. Okay. So Joffrey, this is what I was talking about. You understand the browser router? Um, if I don't use the as keyword, I have to use the word browser router, right? But in the code, in their own site examples, you will see they're renaming it to router, so that you can just keep using the router keyword. Okay. If you don't use as, then you have to go ahead and use the browser router. Okay. So let's go ahead and remove. All right, let's start with this. Okay. So the first thing, the parent is going to be, when you're defining React router, the parent is going to be your router component. Okay. So it always starts from your router component, and where is this router coming from? React router. Okay. It's not a component that we have defined. It's a component that React router is defining, and we are importing that as a router. That's why we use a word router. If you don't put as router, then you have to use browser router. Okay, simple. All right, so I have the first thing I'm done. I have my router, and then the next thing is all my routes. Let's keep this nav, so the nav bar shows up. Okay, there it is, nav bar, and then I have to use all my the routes keyword. Okay, now if you look at the README, they're saying use the switch. So anybody looked up switch last time when I showed you guys? All right. So remember what the issue with route was? It's inclusive. Who can somebody explain when I say it's inclusive? What does it mean? Yes. No, inclusive. It's the opposite thing. Go ahead, keep going. It's just the opposite of what you're saying.
It follows not
Right.
Any
sub-route. It's inclusive. It's very inclusive. It will include everything over here. So if you're trying to go to slash about, it's going to go to slash also. It's going to go to slash about also. Right? Because slash about matches this also and this also. Right? It's inclusive. Right? And so, and it is intentional. If you read their documentation, they're saying the reason it is intentional is that there could be some routes where you can have a menu and then a side, some component over here or something over here, and you have a route for each of them, and you want to see all of them at the same time in the page. That's why they have kept this as inclusive. Okay, that's the reason that they're saying. But for our thing, it doesn't have to be inclusive. That's the problem. We want, if I type in slash, it should just go to the slash one. Okay? So switch, the difference is switch is exclusive. The first route that it finds that matches is going to exit out. It's going to say, oh, I want to go to slash. This is my first route. It's going to take this and kind of exit out. Okay? If I want to so I have slash. Okay. Alright, so if you're not using switch, what happens? If you type in slash, it will render this also and render this also. Instead, if you use switch, it's exclusive. The first route that it matches is going to render that and then stop further. So let's suppose I want to go to slash, it's going to render slash and just stop over there. So you say, oh, I'm not going to go to about. Okay? The problem comes if I want to go to about, it will go over here, doesn't match, goes over here, matches, and goes over this. Okay? You still need to use the exact path to make sure that it doesn't render it. But switch, just like a JavaScript switch, the following would be just statements, and all of these statements are going to be routes. Okay, so I need to create 2 routes. So let me go ahead and copy. Okay, I need to create slash and slash books. slash and slash books. Okay, so my first route is going to be slash, so exact path slash, and what do I need to load? Which component? Books. So component books. Okay, and then the second route that I need to create is slash books, and this should load the same books component. Okay, and then you can see that kind of shows up over here. All right. Oops. Okay, so in my slash route, I'm back to my original web page that wasn't showing it, and that it was giving you errors when you start off. And this is how you fix it. So the README is saying you need two routes, slash and slash, but they both are pointing to the same one. So that's an easy fix. You can put it over here. Okay. Now if I type in slash books, what should happen? Nothing. It should just stay over here, right? Because I'm loading this component in both cases. Okay. Scroll down. So this should have solution from all the previous ones. All right, let's look at the what else there. So part 1 is done. Any questions on this one? Okay, this is relatively simpler than the next ones. That both are kind of pointing to the same component, so you don't have to worry about loading anything else. And you can test it out, put a slash, and then slash books. The same page should show up. Okay. Notice that inside of the pages folder, we have a no match component. This is the component for 404 pages, right? What does this mean? When somebody tries to go to a route that you have not defined, you get a 404 page. And that's how if you go to the website, you will see those 404 pages. That is what they're doing. You try to go to a route that they have not defined, gives you 404 pages. Okay? Let's see. Add a route for the new no match component. And same thing, it should render when none of these routes match. If it's not slash books, it should go and say that 404 not found. And this page is already built for you guys, so that should be, let's see, where should that be? Pages, excellent. Oops. So this is our page node, no match, and this is what we need to roll. Okay. Following the same pattern over here, create a new route. Okay, and then do I need to put a path over here? So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to load no match if they type in a page, if they type in a route that's not there. How do I know what they're typing? Huh? Can I find out what they're typing on the top? No, right? I mean, I don't know what they're typing over here. The only thing is that I know if they type in slash, this is where I need to go. If they type in slash books, this is where I need to go. Anything else that is typed in is not valid. So I don't even need to give a path over here. All I need to do is load a component called no match. Okay, and again, why is that? I'm using the switch, is exclusive. As soon as it finds this route, it's going to stop over there. I'm going to show it. As soon as it finds this route, it's going to stop over there. If it comes to this line number 16, this means none of these match. If none of these match, this means it's a 404. The route doesn't exist. So you don't have to put in a path over here. You're basically saying if this fails, if you come over here, then definitely that's wrong. Okay, that's the power of your switch thing. This is possible if you're using switch. Okay, so now if you type in a route that does not exist, let's say movies Okay? Anything that you type in that's not one of these is going to give you an error. Alright, again, why? Because switch is exclusive. As soon as it finds this one, it's going to stop rendering and it's going to exit out. As soon as it finds this one, it's going to stop, exit out. If none of these match, and by the time it comes over, this means the route is not right. So you need to show for it.
So if it stops at a button, what do you need it to
Yeah, you can skip example. Yeah. I kind of follow this. I kind of make sure because these are the when you come to this route means the whole page. This is the whole page behind you. So I kind of follow this. I'm like, I'm going to 100% make sure that nobody can access anything else. That's why. Okay. All right. Questions? Everybody kind of good? All right. So what's the last part? So we did this, and so we have our no match also. Okay. The third one. We have our detail component. Now we need to load the detail component. And what does it mean? That when you have a number of books over here, let's go back to our basic route. And I need to find more information about this book or this particular book. Okay, so that's the detail page. That out of all the list, I want to show just one book, the details of that book. Okay, that's what the route we need to create. Okay, let's see. Add a route for the new detail component. This should render when books/id path is matched. Okay. Does it tell you where to go? All right. All right, let's go ahead and open our detail component. All right, so what is going on in our detail component? It has some JSX. It's kind of loading information. And if you look at the JSX, you are getting the same information from the state and a link that goes back to your authors. Okay? Let's go back here and see what code do we need to add on this one. All right, add a route for the new detail component. This should render when /book/id is matched. Okay, inside the detail component, add so that when this component loads, it should go do this. All right, so let's look at this one first. We need to add a route. So where should I add a route first? I need to add a new route. Where do I go and add it? What is it? app.js. Yes, thank you, Kevin. All right, so let's go ahead and add a route over here. So this route is going to be, I'm going to use exact path. And what do I need? What's the path for this one? /book/id. Okay. And you're going to pass. And what component do I need to load? Detail. So let's go ahead and load the detail component. Okay. All right. So this, if you type in books and some ID, it should go ahead and go ahead and call the detail component. Okay. Basically, this is saying anything that you on your browser, if you say /book/something, is going to take that as an ID. Okay. That's what it means over here. All right. So this part is done, and we should be done with this. Any questions on this part? Again, we're just adding a new route, which takes an ID. Okay. Now, this is the interesting one. This is a class component. I have a state. Look at the comment over here. They're saying the book ID for this route can be accessed using this.props.match.params.id. What is this.props? So let's go ahead and console log this.props first. So the easiest one is, let me go ahead and write a component did mount. As soon as this mounts, I'm going to console log my props. So what is the route that I need to pass in? Slash book slash something, some ID. So let's give it random ID. That's not important right now. The important is, what is this? You guys see this object over here? Okay. Where is this dot box coming from? I don't need to get defined for me over here. Okay. If you create a class component, you always get object, the props object. That's what, and it's by default. Every React component gets passed this dot props. Right? You don't see it, you don't have to define it. It automatically comes to you, and you can access it. And this is only valid for your class component. Right? What do we do for the function one? You are passing it in. Remember, you have function component, and then you're passing the props in. So you have to manually pass in it. If you have a class component, you don't have to pass it in. React itself gives you access to this object. Can I modify this props? Never. Properties, remember props is immutable. You cannot modify it. It's read only. Okay, props are read only. Remember Week21-Day1? That's the. Huh? So the properties, can I modify this props? No, it's immutable, right? It's read only. You cannot modify this ever, right? So whatever this dot props React is giving to you, you can use it, but you cannot modify it. And what comes in? It has these 3 or 4 properties: history, location, match. Doesn't matter what these are, but this is what you're going to get in your props. Now, if you open up match, location tells you what's the location that it is coming from. There's a history. Again, you don't have to understand each one of them. The more important point is that this dot props is available in every class component. If it is a function component, you're actually passing it in. If it's a class, this is by default available to you. And this dot props has these 4 or 5 whatever properties, right? History, location, match. Using this, you can extract the ID out. And that's what they're saying. It's if you open a match dot params, there's an ID which is coming from this route. So what React did behind the scenes, again, you don't have to understand this, but what it is doing is whatever route you type it in, it's kind of taking this as an ID because you have defined a route ID, and then puts this number as an ID and kind of gives you this ID over here. Okay. Again, the more important is how do you access it? This dot props. Where is this dot props? It's given to you by default because it's a class component. Okay. Now, if you want to access the ID, you can access like they're saying over here, match.params.id, and it should give you this ID. Use this ID and make a get call, and it should give you the details of that page. Okay. You can use, this time you can use the API.getBook method, right? Because you just need one book. Okay, then function dot catch function log this error. Okay, If it is successful, what do I need to do? I need to set the state. So if I get some result, this is going to be result. Why am I calling this result? Because it's going to be a single object. So that's why I'm calling it result. And then let's go ahead and set my state. Again, state over here is book. It's a single object. So go ahead and set that result dot data. Okay, we'll come back to this one. Again, this is similar to whatever the previous exercise is, right? You're setting the state, there's an error, you log the error. Now over here, I need to pass an ID. How do I access this ID? This dot props dot match dot params dot ID. Again, you don't have to remember what's the whole syntax. The only thing you need to remember is this is part of props. Just do a console log, look at your console and find out where that match is. And you guys already know how to parse JSON, so you can do it's under your match. So it's going to be dot match dot params and then dot ID, and then you can get this ID back.
And just to confirm, that ID is assigned by the not assigned by.
No, it's assigned by you, and you are assigning it over here. It's checking for this.
The actual, the 1, 2, 3 that it's in JSON.
This is I'm assigning on the top. If you see my browser, I'm sending this ID. This is whatever you type in on your browser. And right, this is the ID of the book. I mean, this is 1, 2, 3 is not valid actually. I'm giving you an example. I will go through the valid ID, but the important part is, how does it know this is an ID? It doesn't know. Why is it picking it up? Because in your route, yes, in the route you are saying, oh, if somebody types in this route, this is going to be an ID. You can name it this as ABC, it doesn't matter, right? This is matching your match dot this thing. This and this is matching, okay? And where is this value coming from? Go back over here, what should be the route? Route should be slash book slash some ID. And what I did over here, I said slash book slash something. Anything over here is going to be considered an ID. So I type in 1, 2, 3, so it says, oh, this is an ID. It doesn't know what it is. You type in ABC, it's saying, oh, the ID is ABC now. It's looking for a match. And it finds this, it replaces this ID with whatever you typed in over here. Of course, this is not a valid ID, and we can put the valid ID. And then it should give you details of that book.
I guess my confusion is, once you have all these routes in place, and these calls in place, you're supposed to be able to click on the book result?
Yes. Yes. And
so how is clicking on the link giving it?
Right. And how is it giving back? What do you think?
I guess I was skipping it.
Right. So what now? We will come back to that part. Okay. But do you understand the structure? Okay. Now we are coming to the next part. Now, how does it know? Where can I find this component? What is this component?
Books.
This is not books.
Sorry,
it's a list.
It's on the books page.
It's on the books page, but it's a list, right? Sure. So let's go ahead and kind of start from here. So on your books page, there should be a map function or something. You see it over here? Okay, so it's mapping, filtering, it's kind of going over it, and then the list comes in. And then you see this link button, link over here. Where is this link coming from? What is this link? What is it? React router. First of all, it's a component, right? Because it's green and all of these are component. But where is it? Where is the list item component? Are we defining list item? Yes, right? If you open this up, this is a component that we have defined. Okay, this is a list component. Oh, where did it go? Okay, what about this Jumbotron component? Where is this? Who defines the Jumbotron component? We do. All right. Similarly, the link one, if you hover over it, it's a component, but we haven't defined it. If you scroll up to the top, you will see this React Router DOM. You are importing this link. The purpose of this is same as anything. It creates your href. It creates a link. Okay, that's coming from your React Router. Remember the router, and then we saw the switch, then we saw route, and the fourth component is your link. What do you do with this link? It's same as your href. Basically, you're saying is that each of these things are going to create a link. Create a link to something. So that's why if you hover over it, it creates a link. All of these are, that's why these are like clickable. Why are they clickable? Because you are saying that this is a link. Remember the href part? If you create a text and you put it inside an href, your text kind of becomes like the underlying thing when you hover over it. Same concept over here. The only thing is this link is part of React Router. Now, how do you use this? The 2-1 link basically saying when somebody clicks it, takes them to this thing. What is /book/id? Is there a route that we have defined? We have, right? So link will actually go and find the route and then load that component that is linked to this route. And what is the component that is linked to this route? Details. So if I click this, it takes me to the details page.
You can use that
Anytime you need. Oh yeah. This is just like the surface of that. There's a lot of other things. Again, that comes with not with even in practice. Comes more when you're doing a bigger project. You're like, hey, how do I do this? And then that's the solution that they have come up with. Same with React. The Redux, you won't really appreciate it. The thing is, when you're building a big project and then you run into that issue with states, then you're like, well, I wish there was like a global state. Well, that's where Redux comes in, and that's their advertisement. That's what they say. Hey, you need a global state, use Redux. We'll come to that. Never mind. But this is how you go to it. So you create a link, and then you give that a route. And this route has been defined in our apps, right? And that's why I come back to it. Now, what about this back thing? Back to authors. Where is this? Where should this be? Which component? Details, right? Because now I'm in my details page. So there should be a link over here somewhere that is taking me back to the author. And there it is. You see this? Is there a route called /? There is, right? So that's why I go back to my main page. Same thing. Click anything, takes you to the details page. And look at the URL. Do I have a route? Books/ID. And that's how it loads the correct one. It goes to our database, brings the correct book, shows up over here, and then you can go back to your authors. Okay, when you're using the React router, I think these 4 or 5 are enough for your use case. The first is your router component, which is also your browser router. One of the examples that Geoffrey was showing me, they were not renaming it, so they were using browser router, but both are the same thing. Okay. The next one is your routes. Then you're going to use your switches, and then there's a link one. I think these 4 they should be sufficient for even your any activity or your project. Now, if you want to get more complicated, those are other ones, but these 4, let me make sure: switch, router, link. Yeah, it should be, these 4 should be sufficient enough to create your whole project. Okay. All right. Questions? Does this help? Kind of clarifies a little bit.
Yes. Like,
again, I can talk here the whole day. I can clarify, but unless you go back and sit down and go through this again, it won't like plaster everything together. You still need to kind of go back and look at it. Okay? All right, any questions? Anything else that I can clarify from these activities? It doesn't have to be that I have coded over it. It could be somewhere from the folder structure or why they have done this. Anything from those? Good? Okay. So that was the revision part for today. This was asked. I hope this was helpful, clarifying. Okay. I haven't received any more topics for Saturday. The most were like Redux. So, is there anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to I'm trying my best to just give you a little bit definition of Redux. Again, you won't have to use Redux in your project. I don't see a use case, but when I explain Redux to the class, some teams use it and they use it fine. And the reason is they just want practice. If you want practice with Redux, go ahead and use it. You won't find a use case because the project is relatively smaller. But again, I introduce to the class. Usually, one or two teams kind of use it. Just to see how it works and all that stuff. But again, there's no use case in this class that you have to use it. There's no use case for some of the companies and they still use Redux. If you go to the React Redux site, they have an FAQ over there where they say, do you actually need Redux? Please don't use it if you don't need it. And then they have like some details over there. Are you running into these issues? Okay, then go ahead and use Redux. If you're not, please don't use Redux. Yeah? Because it will create more issues than you're trying to solve. But there's no class on Thursday, so that's why I'm talking about Saturday. Okay?
Oh,
Happy 4th of July. Have a safe one.
4th of July is.
I mean, there's only like 15 minutes. Work on your project. I'll be here 9:30. Okay? All right, let me know if you have any questions related to project, not project.